just like my dreams. Arthur Fraser, 86, settled into his seat for the second half at the London Stadium with the reverence of a man returning to sacred ground. His knees protested, his hearing was a distant echo, but his eyes, though clouded, could always find claret and blue, even if he couldn't quite make out who was wearing the shirt. The first half had been terrible. West Ham were 3-0 down. Sloppy defending, no bite in midfield. The crowd grumbled, but Arthur didn't join in. He'd seen worse. He'd seen better. He'd seen it all. There was still the second half to go, and you just never knew with the Hammers. Miracles could happen. The players came out for the second half. There seemed to be a couple of subs made, though Arthur couldn't quite work out who they were. Maybe a youth player he hadn't seen before. He could have sworn one of them looked like Eyal Berkovic. That'd be something. He knew how to be a playmaker. It took a minute to realise that he was sure they changed kits too. A kick-off had been the new season's kit, but now it looked a lot like the 1980 FA Cup strip. Was it a modern homage strip maybe? The whistle blew. Pretty soon the Irons were on the attack. A player picked up the ball near the halfway line. Arthur squinted. Who's that lad? Should be Souček, but he's moving like Martin Peters used to. The gait, the balance, it was uncanny. The crowd behind him erupted into a chant. Arthur turned. One man singing wore a flat cap and braces. A wooden rattle spun in his hand, clacking like it was 1958. No one else seemed to notice. Arthur leaned over to the stranger beside him. Have we made a substitution? I swear that's Billy Bonds out there. The man just smiled. They're all out there, mate. All of them. Had they somehow changed kit again? Now it was the great one from the season they had no sponsor. Just clean claret and blue. The collars were flapping. The socks were baggy. Arthur rubbed his eyes. The view seemed to improve. Arthur realised he was closer to the action now, in the chicken run, back at the old bowling ground. The atmosphere was electric. Everyone was standing shoulder to shoulder, swaying with enthusiasm. There were no seats anymore, just bodies and belief. It must have been adrenaline, but the standing didn't hurt his feet at all. He felt younger. He was no longer wearing his glasses, but he didn't need to. He could make out every player on the pitch. On the wing, Burren darted forward, but mid-dribble he became Alan Devonshire, hair longer, boots muddied, gliding past defenders like reeds in water. No one reacted, no one questioned. Then came the first goal, a scrappy effort deflected in off a shin. The crowd cheered, but it was bittersweet. Arthur nodded, at least we got one. Minutes later, a second, a clever move, Brook into Paqueta, a dummy, a low finish. The crowd stirred. Come on, you Irons! Echoed around the stands. Arthur stood taller. Then the equaliser. Di Canio twisted through defenders, a blur of chaos and grace. The old chant rose like an aria. He volleyed it in. The crowd exploded. Arthur was swept up in the hysteria. Time fractured. The pitch was now populated by legends. But tension followed. The opposition surged. A shot. Ludek McCloskey made a sprawling save. One of those impossible ones, fingertips grazing the ball just enough. Arthur gasped. That's Ludo. That's definitely Ludo. Corner kick. The ball arced in, but it wasn't Ludo who claimed it. It was Phil Parks, gloves like relics, rising through time. He snatched the ball mid-air, landed like a titan and rolled it out. There must have been only seconds on the clock. This had to be the final move of the game. Parks to Brooking, to Devonshire. They dodge a tackle, out to Sinclair, cross from Potts. Hartson rose, the keeper punched it out. Cotty was there, he stabbed it home. The crowd erupted. Arthur was weeping, laughing, chanting. The stadium was myth incarnate. And for a moment, it was all of them. Dix thundering forward, shirt soaked in sweat and fury. Brooking gliding past defenders like mist over the Thames. Di Canio's volley hanging in the air like a spell. Tevez chasing lost causes with fire in his lungs. Noble bleeding claret and blue. Payet bending light with his left foot. Billy Bonds, Julian Faubert, Alvin Martin, Joe Cole, Bobby Zamora, Frank Lampard Sr. Sparks of flair and fight stitched into the fabric of the pitch. The ghosts of Upton Park and the dreams of Stratford all roaring in unison. Arthur felt them, every tackle, every chant, every impossible goal. It was the comeback of comebacks, a game where fortune did not hide. It was the match forevermore. But the roar began to thin, the sound peeled away like mist. The pitch dimmed, the players blurred, the crowd became silhouettes, cold plastic beneath him. A few fans already heading for the exits. No comeback here, just 3-0 down. Medics were already beside him, voices clipped and urgent, a hand on his wrist, a torch in his eye. But Arthur was beyond reach, his mind elsewhere, his body still. A single bubble floated past, maybe blown by a child, Maybe from the pitch-side bubble machine, maybe from nowhere at all. It shimmered, claret and blue catching the light. It rose, slow and sure, above the pitch, above the stands, above the sky. Arthur watched it go and smiled, his eyes closed. And somewhere, in a place beyond time, Arthur took his place in the stand, and the whistle blew once more.